They brought her in chains. Her feet were dirty, her skin sunburned, and her long hair was tangled like dry grass. The guards pulled her by the arm as if she were nothing more than a broken doll. The crowd laughed. Aliens in long silver robes, seated in a high circle, looked down with grins on their strange faces. The throne room of the Zelari Empire was no place for a human girl. But that's where she was. A slave. A gift. A joke. This is the creature from Earth, the Emperor said, laughing. He sat on a throne made of black metal and bones. His voice echoed through the wide golden hall. Alien nobles, generals, and scientists surrounded him, each more arrogant than the last. Pathetic. She can't even stand straight, a green-skinned warrior laughed. Does she bark or cry? Another hissed. What use is this? Earth girl. The girl said nothing. She stood still, eyes calm, almost empty. Like the sun had baked all her thoughts away. She looked too thin, too small, too quiet. The nobles grew bored quickly. Bring the beast, the Emperor ordered. The doors opened. The room fell silent. Heavy footsteps shook the floor. Sand spilled in from outside. And then, it entered, a tiger. But this was not Earth's tiger. It was 3 times the size. Its fur was darker, its teeth longer, its eyes glowing gold. It was bred for war. Raised in pain. Controlled by no one. The alien beast snarled and scanned the room. Soldiers held electric whips ready. It could tear a dozen men in seconds. Let's see if the human can make it smile, the Emperor joked. The girl still said nothing. The tiger growled and walked straight toward her. Gasps echoed across the throne room. The alien scientists leaned forward. Soldiers grabbed their weapons. The tiger moved slowly, its head low, its teeth sharp and ready. Dust rose with each step. The girl didn't move. Not a step. She looked at the beast, her eyes meeting its golden ones. 5 feet away. 4. 3. Now it was close enough to bite. The tiger growled louder, its mouth wide, its fangs dripping. The crowd prepared for blood. And then? It stopped. The tiger stood completely still in front of her. Its breathing heavy, its claws deep in the floor. The girl stared at it, still silent. Then, it did something no one expected. It lowered its head. It bent its knees. It bowed. The entire room froze. The Emperor leaned forward, his eyes wide. The guards looked at each other in disbelief. Impossible, someone whispered. That beast has killed 10 trainers, another said. No one controls it. No one. But the beast didn't move unless she did. And the girl smiled. It was the first time she moved her lips. Just a small, quiet smile. Not proud. Not loud. But enough to send a cold wave across the court. The Emperor stood. What is this trick? He growled. Who are you? She looked up at him. Her voice was soft, yet clear. I'm the part of Earth you shouldn't have touched. From that moment on, she was no longer a joke. She was a question. A problem. A threat. Because if a human girl could make the Empire's wildest beast bow, what else could she do? They didn't sleep that night. Not the guards. Not the nobles. Not even the Emperor himself. The throne room had gone silent hours ago, but the image refused to leave their minds. The tiger bowed. To a human girl. In the underground labs of Varnock Citadel, cold lights flickered as the girl sat alone in a glass chamber. Her feet dangled. Her hands were relaxed on her knees. She wasn't tied. She didn't try to run. And yet, 5 laser rifles pointed at her head from behind the walls. She's not normal, the chief biologist muttered. She's human, another replied. No. She's something else. But Ilara, the girl from Earth, remained silent. In another room, the beast, the Zelari's prized predator, lay on the cold floor. Breathing steady. Calm. Unleashed. Not in a cage. Not under control. And still, not attacking. The guards who once feared for their lives now stood outside, confused. It didn't bow for the Emperor. It didn't even bow for the trainers. But it bowed for her. The scientists brought machines. Wires. Scanners. Blood tests. Neural maps. They tried everything. She has no implants. No genetic splices. No tracking chips. Still, no answers. Ask her, one said. So, they did. An alien in a white coat stood before the glass chamber. Human. Speak. How did you tame it? Ilara looked up. Her face was calm, but her eyes? Her eyes were ancient. She didn't look 19 anymore. She looked like she had seen the sky crack open. I didn't tame it, she said softly. I respected it. The scientist blinked. That's not an answer. She tilted her head. That's why you'll never understand. Counterclockwise arrows flashback, 5 years ago. Earth. Rain hit hard. Ilara was only 14. She had found a starving mountain lion in a steel trap in the woods. Everyone told her to stay away. But she didn't. She sat near it for hours. Just breathing. When she returned the next day, it was still there. Angry. Weak. Dying. She brought food. Water. She cut the trap herself. It didn't thank her. But it didn't kill her either. It walked away and looked back once. Something ancient passed between them. A connection older than words. Back with left arrow above, back to the lab, alien planet. The Emperor watched the recordings. He didn't believe in spirit. Or emotion. Only control. So, he ordered a test. They brought in a second predator. A different beast. Sharper. Meaner. One that the tiger had once fought, and barely survived. This one was hungry. They placed both monsters in the arena. Ilara stood in the center. No armor. No shield. The scientists watched from behind reinforced glass. If she lives, we believe. If not. But before the words could finish, the second beast charged. Faster than the eye. Ilara didn't move. She didn't flinch. She didn't scream. She looked at the tiger. And spoke one word. Protect. The tiger moved like thunder. It crashed into the second beast with a roar that shook the walls. Claws tore flesh. Fangs ripped bone. The fight was brutal, short, and final. When it was over, only one creature stood. Bleeding. Breathing. And still bowing to her. The Emperor stood, silent. Everyone had a question. But none dared ask it. Ilara turned to the glass. She walked forward, slow, powerful, not like a slave, but like a storm in human skin. She faced the scientists. You think I'm here to be studied? She tapped the glass. But you brought me here to learn. It didn't start with a scream. It started with a rumor. Not in the palace. Not in the labs. But in the slave quarters, where whispers spread faster than light. Did you hear? The beast knelt for the girl. A human girl. No, a storm, dressed like a girl. The guards tried to keep it quiet. They failed. By morning, every outer sector knew her name. Ilara. The girl from Earth. The one who stared into death and made it bow. Far across the galaxy, a warship captain watched the footage on a cracked screen. His ship had been patrolling near the asteroid mines. He replayed the scene 10 times. Pause at frame 212. The tiger bowed. Zoom in. Ilara didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. The captain leaned back. That's not instinct. That's control. Back in the Emperor's private chamber, the mood had changed. He no longer called her a joke. He called her a trigger. She's awakening something, he told the High Council. In beasts, and maybe in people. The generals wanted her eliminated. The scientists wanted her dissected. But the Emperor wasn't stupid. He wanted to understand her. What if Earth is sending a message through her? What if she is not just human, but a symbol? So, they watched her. Every move. Every breath. They placed her in a new chamber, larger, cleaner, with cameras in every corner. She spoke to no one. But she whispered to the tiger. They didn't know what she said. But the beast listened. Every single time. Meanwhile, in the lower decks, a boy named Rallo, just a worker born in chains, heard the rumors and snuck into a hidden viewing hall. He saw her on the screen. Saw her eyes. He felt something strange. Hope. And that's when he did something dangerous. He placed a small red stone, used in slave rebellion centuries ago, outside her chamber wall. A signal. A sign. You are not alone, it meant. Hours later, Ilara found it. She picked it up, smiled faintly, and placed it beside her food tray where the cameras would clearly see it. The signal had been received. The Empire panicked. She's communicating. With who? With everyone. In secret, they sent a spy into her chamber. A shapeshifter. Meant to trick her. Pretend to be weak. Gain her trust. He sat on the floor beside her. You're not like the others, he said. Why are you really here? Ilara didn't look at him. She looked at the tiger. It growled softly. You lied, she whispered. And he doesn't like liars. The shapeshifter stood to run. Too late. The beast pounced. From that day, no one tried to get close to her again. They built stronger walls. But walls don't stop stories. And now, across the mining zones, the labor camps, the gladiator rings, people were saying the same thing. She's not their slave. She's Earth's answer. And then something strange happened. Other animals, alien beasts, began acting differently. They stopped fighting in cages. They refused to obey handlers. They stared at the sky like they were listening for something. One handler went missing. Another was found curled in a corner, whispering. She looked at me through the beast's eyes. Back in the throne room, the Emperor stood before his war council. She's not a girl, he said. She's a signal. And we just became its target. It began like a festival. Alien citizens gathered from all corners of the Empire. Massive holograms lit up in every colony. Ships stopped mid-journey just to tune in. Even soldiers on distant moons huddled near screens. The human girl faces judgment today. Watch her fall. Live. They had turned her execution into entertainment. The arena of Cordune hadn't seen this many beings in over a century. It was built to break legends, to remind rebels what happened when you challenged the Empire. And now, it waited for a girl. A girl from a broken planet. A girl with dust on her feet and a tiger by her side. From a dark tunnel, Ilara stepped into the arena. She didn't wear armor. No shield. No weapon. Just silence. Behind her, the tiger walked, slow, heavy, breathing like thunder. The crowd screamed. Some cursed. Some laughed. A few just stared. She walked to the center. Sand cracked beneath her steps. High above, the Emperor watched from a black floating throne. End her, he said. Let her blood wash the legend away. From the other gate, the enemy entered. A creature of fire and steel, with blades for limbs and poison in its mouth. Built in a lab. Programmed to kill. Its raw-made birds dropped from the sky. The tiger growled. But Ilara raised her hand. Wait. She didn't flinch. She didn't blink. Instead, she turned to the sky. As if listening for something. The Empire laughed. She's stalling. She's afraid. She knows she's going to die. But in the shadows of the upper stands, someone else was watching. A commander. A deserter. One who had fought on Earth during the first invasion. He stared at the girl. And whispered to himself. No. She's timing something. The monster charged. Blades out. Fire rising from its mouth. The ground shook. The crowd stood. Ilara didn't move. Until the exact second the beast lunged. Then, she whispered one word. Now. The tiger moved like lightning. It didn't just attack. It read the monster's rhythm. Dodged its blades. Climbed its back. And tore it apart, piece by piece. Not with rage. But with precision. Like it was trained. The arena went silent. No cheers. No screams. Just the sound of metal clattering to the sand. And a human girl standing beside a bowing beast. The Emperor stood slowly. His eyes narrowed. She didn't tame the tiger, he muttered. She trained it. Across the galaxy, the broadcast spread. In mining colonies, rebels stopped their work. In slave camps, the old stories began to change. And on Earth, far away, hidden sensors picked up the stream. A quiet alarm blinked. Subject Ilara confirmed. Phase 2 possible. Back in the arena, Ilara turned to the Emperor's throne. She didn't shout. She didn't wave. She just raised her hand and snapped her fingers. The tiger roared so loud it shattered 3 drones midair. Then, silence. And the girl walked away. Not a prisoner. Not a slave. But as a commander. It started with silence. Not fear. Not chaos. Just silence. In a galaxy ruled by noise, whips cracking, slaves crying, guards shouting. This kind of silence was dangerous. It meant people were listening. And they were listening to her name. Ilara. Not the human girl. Not the slave from Earth. Now they whispered it like a warning. Or a prayer. In the labor mines of Sector Gorva 9, workers passed her name in code. They scratched it into walls. Spoke it through broken helmets. Carved it into the metal of their shackles. Ilara made the beast bow. Ilara stood against the Empire's death machine. If she can walk free, maybe we can run. The Empire noticed. And they were afraid. Not because Ilara had claws. But because she hadn't used any. She had one, with calm. With presence. With something no alien technology could match. Influence. The Emperor summoned the warlords. She doesn't command armies, he growled. She commands belief. They offered solutions. Execute her. Erase the footage. Blame it on a lab glitch. But the people had already seen her walk away from death. And worse. So had the other beasts. In animal holding cells across the Empire, things had changed. Beasts that once obeyed zaps and screams now sat in corners, staring at walls. Silent. Alert. Waiting. One handler lost his hand. Another lost his mind. He kept repeating. She told it to wait. She told it to wait. In a forgotten cell block, 2 guards stood outside Ilara's chamber. They say she trained it with just a look, one whispered. I heard she's from Earth's last temple, said the other. I heard Earth doesn't have temples, the first replied. Maybe we just never found them, the second said. They fell silent. The girl was inside. No chains. No force field. Just sitting. Calm. Watching. A commander entered the room. He was tall, scarred, with eyes like sharpened stone. "I don't care about myths," he told her. "I want to know what you are." Elara didn't blink. "You're asking the wrong question." He slammed the table. "Then what's the right one?" She leaned forward. Her voice was soft. "Ask what you'll become after I leave." Later, he reported to the Emperor. "She's not fighting us. She's changing us." The Emperor clenched his fist. "How many believe in her?" The answer came from a broken transmission tower on Moon Zareth. An unknown voice had hijacked the Imperial broadcast. And it played only one sentence. "We don't need chains. Elara walks free." That night, a prison revolt began. No leader. No plan. Just a scream. And someone drew a ready on the guard's wall, in blood. From that moment, the Empire's nightmare had a face. Not a warlord. Not a demon. Just a girl from Earth. The sky above Cordune Prime turned grey. Not from clouds, but from silence. No war. No explosion. Just the stillness that comes before a planet changes forever. In the center of the capital, a floating stage was built. Tall. Cold. Public. Elara's execution was not a secret. It was a message. The Empire didn't just want her dead. They wanted her forgotten. Billions watched. Across the colonies. In mining ships. Inside prisons. Even the war beasts, locked in steel cages, stared at the screens. Waiting. The Emperor appeared first. He stood tall above the crowd. His voice, sharp and cruel, echoed through every speaker. "The era of weakness ends today. The human girl who dares to control what was never hers will now face the end of her myth." The crowd didn't cheer. They just watched. Elara was brought forward. No chains. No struggle. Just calm steps. Bare feet. She looked up at the crowd. Then at the Emperor. Then at nothing at all, as if listening to a voice only she could hear. "Any last words?" the executioner asked. She didn't answer him. She looked into the camera. Her voice soft and dangerous. "You tried to break a voice with noise. But you forgot. I taught the beast how to listen." And then, from below the stage, the sound began. Not a scream. Not a weapon. But a growl. Low. Deep. Familiar. The stage shook. The guards turned. Too late. The tiger leaped from the shadows like a living storm. Claws tore through armor. Teeth found flesh. And screams finally filled the square, but not from Elara. She stood still. Watching. The people didn't run. They didn't scream. They cheered. First a few. Then thousands. Then millions across the systems. Screens shattered from fists. Empire flags burned. And in the shadows, a child whispered to his mother. "That's her roar, isn't it?" The Emperor fled. His guards blocked the doors. He pushed past them, eyes wild. "She's a weapon," he shouted. But his generals were no longer listening. They were watching the crowd. Watching a girl with no army take an empire apart one heartbeat at a time. Somewhere in the palace, a broadcast hack lit up. A voice played on every channel. "Elara walks. And the beast listens. But now, so do we." That night, 20 new rebellions began. 5 commanders resigned. 2 alien species declared neutrality. And 1 war beast, locked in a cage for 10 years, sat down and waited. For her. It didn't end with fire. It ended with footsteps. Soft. Bare. Slow. One after another, echoing through the throne hall of a dying empire. The palace that once echoed with laughter and commands now stood in silence. Dust in the air. Guards nowhere to be seen. Flags torn and half falling. The great empire of Zelari had ruled for centuries. Now, it waited. Elara entered alone. No armor. No tiger beside her. No army behind her. Just her. The girl they had called a joke. A pet. A weakling. A slave. At the end of the hall sat the emperor. Bent. Breathing heavily. Crown in one hand, shaking. His eyes rose slowly. He laughed once, bitter, dry. So this is how it ends. She said nothing. I had stars at my feet, he muttered. Thousands bowed to me. He dropped the crown. It rolled across the floor. Hit her foot. She stepped over it. Was it the beast? He asked. Was it some earth magic? What made them follow you? Elara tilted her head. Her voice was soft. Gentle. Clear. You ruled by fear. I reminded them what it felt like to stand. He stared at her. Hollow. You have no army. She nodded. And yet, you're kneeling. He looked down. His legs had already folded. Without thinking. As if his body knew what his pride refused to admit. From outside, the sounds of rebellion faded. Not because the fight was over, but because there was no one left to fight. The people had taken back their cities. The slaves had opened their own cages. The beasts had stopped growling and started waiting. For her. In the throne room, Elara turned. Walked away. Not with triumph. But with peace. Because she hadn't just ended a rule. She had ended an idea. That power belongs to the loudest. Now it belonged to those who dared to listen. Far above the planet, in a small cloaked ship, an old Earth satellite blinked. It had been watching. Recording. Waiting. And now, transmitting. Signal confirmed. Elara has completed Phase 1. Earth will return. Back on the ground, a small alien child touched a cracked statue of the Emperor. Then looked up at the sky. Is she coming back? His mother smiled, wiping ash from his cheek. No, she said. She never left.